Hey folks, today's episode is brought to you by sunsetlakecbd.com. Use the coupon code LEFTISBEST. You will get 10% off. This is a great company, and you'll recall that they had a big sale for Black Friday. They ended up donating $5,000 to Planned Parenthood. We've got a story today that just about the onslaught against the reproductive rights in this country. $5,000 to Planned Parenthood. The majority report is going to match. In the meantime, not only is sunsetlakecbd.com a great movement partner, they're also a great grower of CBD. They use integrated pest management and also do not use pesticides. Those things don't necessarily mean the same thing. Often they do, but in this case, they don't use pesticides. They have all of their CBD is third-party tested. They have tinctures with melatonin. They have gummies with melatonin, and a gummy with a little bit of THC. So that you can, really relax, I guess. Also, they have salves, they have lotions, just fantastic product, great company. Like I say, movement partners, they've donated not only $5,000 this year to Planned Parenthood, but tens of thousands of dollars to refugee resettlement, to strike union strike funds, to carceral reform, to food pantries, to helping out with other farmers, and in the wake of the Vermont floods. Just an all-around great company. sunsetlakecbd.com. Use the coupon code LEFTISBEST, 20% off. Get some folks some CBD fudge. It's a great gift for the holidays, or CBD coffee. Also a unique and delicious and calming gift for the holidays. sunsetlakecbd.com, 20% off with the coupon code LEFTISBEST. And now for the show.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder, where every day's Casual Friday. That means Monday is Casual Monday. Tuesday, Casual Tuesday. Wednesday, Casual Hump Day. Thursday, Casual Thurs. That's what we call it. And Friday, Casual Shabbat. The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
It is Friday, December 8th. 2023. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Alex Pareene, editor at the New Republic, and also the host of the Politics of Everything podcast. And more to look back on this week that was. Also, hostage talks stall as Israel continues its assault on Gaza. Meanwhile, detaining hundreds. 13 Democratic senators announce amendment requiring U.S. supplemental aid to, if you can believe this, comply with U.S. and international law. U.S. payrolls rise 199,000 in November. Unemployment drops to 3.7. Hunter Biden charged with tax evasion. Third time a charm, 1,000 VW workers in Chattanooga sign union cards. Meanwhile, Washington Post journalists staged a one-day strike yesterday. 1,100 DHL workers are on strike in Cincinnati. Adjunct professors on strike for weeks now at Columbia College in Chicago. Under threat of prosecution, a Texas woman seeks judicial permission to abort a 20-week-old fetus with a fatal condition. Federal judge to rule that the U.S. cannot separate migrant families from their children for the next 8 years as part of a settlement over the last child kidnapping scheme the government had under the Trump administration. U.S. retail lobbyists retract claim that organized retail crime accounted for half of their lost inventory. And Michigan Republicans on the brink of bankruptcy as Michigan Dems push through major pro-voter reform by the end of the year. All this and more on today's Majority Report. And not only is it Casual Friday and Emma Vigeland is here, also, I forgot to mention that Francesca Fiorentini,
yes,
the host of the Bitchuation Room, will be joining us later in this program.
She's got an important announcement about, a little collaboration that we're doing for something in person. So we'll tease that. If anybody's on the West Coast and they want to come to something, there might be something to come to.
Wow,
in
I
January.
like how you put on that accent.
I don't know what it was, but it just felt right. So
there you go. Just got a quick IM from Socialist Boomer on the IM. I'm having surgery in an hour for renal carcinoma. Can I get a shofar? Generally don't read IMs before. That one caught my eye, and I'm going to give an early shofar for that. Also, wanted to, once again, we're about to set our schedule. If you have a suggestion for a best of for the year that we can use during our Christmas break, send us an email at majorityreporters@gmail.com. Put in the subject line best of, and give us a suggestion. It can be a segment that maybe you saw, like a clip, or it could be a comedy guest or a second hour guest, or it could be a full-on interview. And you don't have to just do one. You can do multiple. So feel free. Enjoy yourselves. It's the end of the year. I know a lot of people like to, yeah. All right.
Oh,
and
happy Hanukkah, Sam. I forgot to say that before the show.
Thank you, Emma. I appreciate that. Happy Hanukkah to everyone. Festival of lights, as it were. And just a reminder, your support makes this show possible. You can become a member at jointhemajorityreport.com. When you do, you not only get the free show free of commercials, but you also get the fun half. And it's your support that basically allows us to do what we do. Let's touch on this. The assault on Gaza continues unabated. The IDF is now rounding up prisoners. Unclear who they are. The IDF claims that some of them, at least, are Hamas fighters. There have been, that is a controversial claim. Nevertheless, they're stripped down to their underwear. I mean,
how would Israel react if, say, Hamas did that to captured IDF soldiers? Would they be like, "Oh, that's cool. They're just it's just rules of war."
I mean, never mind how Israel would react. I mean, how would this country react to any other images like that in any other context?
Yeah.
Although we had Abu Ghraib, and
exactly,
but at least like the reaction.
A scandal. Yeah, I mean, at least it was a scandal. And now we're watching this and it's full blown and we're just supposed to be like, meh. Yeah. I mean, it's really,
and the scale of it too, or the intensity in just over 2 months of, like, again, at least 17,000 dead, 46,000 wounded, and like most of the hospitals in Gaza are shut down at this point.
I mean, what
And
percentage is hungry?
I read yesterday the reports of like an account from a doctor who spoke to the Independent in the UK of maggots in wounds, and dressings not being changed on toddlers who have severe burns for days and days on end, and creating that kind of infection, just to give a sense of like how the violence, as I've repeatedly been saying recently, does not stop at the death toll. That is like the floor of the violence and destruction we're seeing.
And then there's this, this writer, Rifat al-Arir, gained some acclaim because he made what was a gross joke about a hoax that or I don't know, you would call it a hoax because hoax implies sort of funny, but a hoax that there were reports from some that Hamas fighters had basically baked alive an Israeli baby in an oven.
Yeah, reports that Israeli journalists later said were not to be taken seriously.
Exactly. And he made a joke, an off-color joke. Barry Weiss, who kicked off her career as a student in Columbia by trying to get professors who were Palestinians fired from that university, and then went on to complain about college students supposedly censoring speech, I should say. She highlighted this joke and broadcast it much further than it would have gone anyways. And subsequently, and we know by the writing in 972 MAG, the Israeli government has been targeting journalists and professors and others. This is a clip of Rifat al-Arir on the Electronic Intifada podcast. This is from about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, almost to the day. This is what he had to say then, as the Israelis were gearing up for their assault on Gaza, and he was talking about, what do the Israelis expect us to do when they keep us in this open air prison? Not necessarily, obviously, supporting the specifics of what happened on October 7th, but I think talking about the idea of, do you expect us to have no resistance?
We know that it's very bleak, it's very dark. There's no way out. If there's no water, there is no way out of Gaza. What should we do? Like drown? Like commit mass suicide? Is this what Israel wants? And we're not going to do that. And I was telling some friend the other day that I'm an academic. Probably the toughest thing I have at home is an expo marker. But if the Israelis invade, if they charge at us, open door to door to massacre us, I'm going to use that marker, throw it at the Israeli soldiers, even if that is the last thing that I would be able to do. And this is the feeling of everybody. We are helpless. We have nothing to lose.
He was obviously doing that podcast with the bombing of Gaza taking place. He was killed yesterday, perhaps the day before, in bombing in Gaza, in the wake of him saying an off-color joke.
Yeah, and he himself tweeted on October 30th, if I get killed by Israeli bombs or my family is harmed, I blame Barry Weiss and her likes. Many maniacal Israeli soldiers already bombing Gaza take these lies and smears seriously, and they act upon them. And other reporters have said that he got calls that made him leave one location to another location, and the other location that he left to was then bombed, so he's murdered.
Yeah. He apparently left the school, I think was the first location, right, to not endanger
Yes.
students.
And I mean, the school, I mean, I watched, you can watch his lectures online. He's, it's something else to hear a guy like engage students in Gaza about poetry in English. And yeah, to see him get killed is, it's unbearable.
He I mean and then it wasn't just him that was killed.
Yeah.
It was many members of his family, apparently, including his brother and sister and her children as well. Uh, his his poem, I mean, do we have it? I feel like maybe we should read it just because he posted it. I just sent it there on November 1st. He said, and it was called "If I Die, If I Must Die, Let It Be a Tale." He said, "If I must die, you must live to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings, make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze and bid no one farewell, not even his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope, let it be a tale." So people are recirculating that poem after his death.
This is, a relentless onslaught that we are, as a nation, at least partially funding. And I don't know if Joe Biden said tomorrow, stop, and we're pulling all the weapons, if Israel would stop, but I suspect they would. But even if they weren't, it's the attempt. There's no other attempt being made to stop Israel from doing it.
I mean, John Kirby is out here saying, of course, Israel doesn't target anyone who's anything less than a Hamas fighter. It's ultimately disgusting.
The good news is Secretary Blinken has said that he is concerned that Israel is not protecting civilians, which, if you think I'm reporting this from a month ago, would, it would be understandable because he said the exact same thing a month ago.
Yeah, he just keeps repeating it with such passive language as if it's not ongoing. And the atrocities on October 7th were actions taken, and we need to consistently re-traumatize ourselves and remember that, so we can only treat the continued bombardment and the deaths of tens of thousands of Palestinians and the continuation of it with passivity.
He's running errands for the ethnic cleansing. He's using American planes to go ask Arab leaders in the region, hey, can you take these Gazans? Israel doesn't want them anymore.
Yeah, it's really just, I don't know what is, there's so many different things about this that is shocking, but we'll touch on this perhaps with Alex Pareene. Of course, we'll have continuing coverage going into next week. And I don't know. In the back of my mind, I'm hoping that this, at the very least, Israel is thinking maybe Christmas, that they might somehow. I don't know. It's hard to know exactly when this onslaught will stop, because certainly Bibi Netanyahu knows that he's got a better shot of going to jail the moment the fighting stops. And so, and it also appears that, by polling, around 80% of the Israeli population wants to flatten Gaza. So we shall see.
That's why we need to, not flatter that sort of feeling inside Israel. And when President Biden says, we of course, support. And Kirby says they're not doing anything wrong. And, Germany puts the Brandenburg Gate in the Israeli flag. Like, there's no message to anyone inside Israel that there's any kind of problem here.
And I mentioned earlier, too, 13 senators, Democratic senators at this point, have come out wanting to attach an amendment to the ultimate what will ultimately be the U.S. supplemental aid package, assuming that gets passed. It would require that weapons received by any country under the proposed national security supplemental are used in accordance with U.S. law, international humanitarian law, and the law of armed conflict. Senator's amendment also requires the president to report to the Congress on whether countries receiving military equipment paid for American taxpayers meet that test and whether use of U.S. supplied weapons comports with established presidential directives on armed transfers and Defense Department policies for reducing harm to civilians. It'll be interesting to see if that amendment is picked up by other Democrats in addition to Republicans, but we will keep you updated on that. In a moment, Alex Pareene will be with us. We've got some other stories we've got to talk about. Meantime, a couple of words from our sponsor. Tough to get health advice from people around you, unless I guess you live with a doctor or a nutritionist. But most of us don't. Most of us have friends who just play video games or watch sports. But the beauty of Ritual is it takes the guesswork out of the vitamin game. Their multivitamin for men is based on science that will help fill common nutrient gaps in the diet and level up all your nutrient goals. It is an all-around win, like a multiple win-win-win. I've talked about Ritual before. It has been the first vitamin regimen I've been on that I've been able to maintain. What I really like about it is the subscription service. When I run out of my vitamins, I don't have to remember to get more and then get out of the habit of taking them. It's seamless. And I take the over 50 version of the men's vitamin. I don't know if they have one that goes any further than that, but which is a little bit disturbing. But the other aspect of a Ritual that is, in addition to like the way that they've formulated for people my age and your age, they have different versions, is all of their ingredients are traceable, because that way you can know you're getting the nutrients you want from, frankly, places that develop and grow and clean nutrients. There are places where I wouldn't want to get my vitamin D from, or my omega-3. These capsules are vegan friendly, non-GMO. They are sugar-free, gluten-free, and major allergen-free. I mentioned before, I had my recent doctor's visit, my annual. My vitamin D levels now for several years have been maintained, and I'm not going outside any more than I used to. I can assure you, I'm going outside less. I'm not getting any more sun, but how my vitamin D has been up there, which is great. The bottles also have a minty essence in every bottle because they put a little thing in there that keeps things fresh. And Essential for Men is a quality multivitamin from a company you can actually trust. Ritual is offering our listeners 30% off during your first month. So check it out. Visit ritual.com/majority to start Ritual or add Essential for Men to your subscription today. We'll put the link in the podcast and YouTube description. Also, a little bit not completely divergent from age. When you give someone a gift, you want them to use it. And you want them to be able to enjoy it immediately without having to call 50 people to get some type of instructions on how to use it. That is the beauty of Aura frames, in addition to the fact that they are also really good looking frames. But these are digital frames that have no extensive setup, no batteries. You don't have to charge them. You don't have to, you don't have to have your grandparents on the phone and walk them through and then do the FaceTime and this and then forget it. Just keep it in the box. When I visit you and, next year I'll fix it. No, this is none of that. Aura frames is a great gift for your parents or for your grandparents. I gave them to my sisters, but it's a great way to keep in touch. And here's the beauty. You download the Aura app. You don't even have to open the box. You don't even have to see the box. You can send a frame to your grandparents or your parents, and you can load it up. And you can pre-connect it to their Wi-Fi by putting in all their details. All you got to tell them is what's the name of your Wi-Fi? Now go to your notebook that you keep by the in the kitchen with all the passwords and tell me what the password is to your Wi-Fi. Don't worry. Don't do this with any other people though. And then you can hook up their machine. All they got to do is plug it in and it works. This is the perfect holiday gift. Wirecutter called it the best digital picture frame. So there's your validation right there. Visit auraframes.com/majority. Get $30 off their best-selling frames. These frames are going to sell out quickly, though. It's the holidays. Get yours before they're gone. That's auraframes.com/majority. Use the promo code majority. You get $30 off their best-selling frame. We'll put the link in the podcast and YouTube description. We'll be right back with Alex Pareene. We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. Pleasure to welcome back to the program Alex Pareene, contributing editor at the New Republic, co-host of the podcast, The Politics of Everything. Alex, good to see you.
Good to see you. Great to be here.
Hey,
You're
Alex.
actually looking very healthy.
You sound so surprised, Sam.
I know.
Wow.
Sometimes but
Yeah.
there's something, I don't know.
Well, you just asked me if I watched the Republican debate last night, and I didn't. And and maybe
well,
that's
it wasn't
just an
last
indication.
night. So
or no, see, exactly. There you go.
There you go.
So there you go. So it might just be an indication that I'm living a healthier lifestyle.
There you Well, that's true, actually. It's good to remember you coming in for a debate or two.
Yeah.
And that was definitely not good for you, healthy wise. I have to say that we all overindulge during these debates. It's really the only way to get through it.
Yeah.
But with that said, you must, I mean, you didn't watch the debate, but I'm sure you've seen how earth-shattering the implications of that debate have been on the body politic afterwards. It's completely upended the race.
Yeah, that's right. We're living, there's a before and after the debate political universe, and we're living after it right now.
After the pivot.
Well, that's the thing, is that what you missed was News Nation introducing it as the pivotal
The pivotal
fourth debate. And we should say that apparently there's now going to be 2 more debates.
Oh yeah.
Or at least that have been announced. You probably did not hear that because they seem like completely irrelevant.
No, I know.
They must be, there must be enough ratings that some of these outlets are interested in doing it.
It's kind of like how they relaunch the USFL every few years. They're like,
exactly.
It's not going to get NFL numbers, but we got to put something. We got, it's football. People are going to turn it on. The biggest gamblers and freaks will turn it on.
Bingo, nailed it. And but what I find fascinating about the debates is that you have 4 people up there, none of whom, if Donald Trump passed away tomorrow, or was jailed, and then passed away, or vice versa. I mean, it doesn't matter how you sequence it. None of these people are going to be the nominee. They have all proven one thing, it seems, during these debates, that they can't be the nominee. Yeah. There's nothing that says that, I would imagine, within the context of the Republican bylaws, that they can't just show up at the convention and get nominated.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's it is. You do wonder, like, I don't know. I mean, you don't wonder why these 4 are doing it, but I think you're totally right. Like, they're not, there's no path. So I don't really know I don't exactly know what the purpose of the exercise is.
Well, it's easy to understand. From my perspective, I think it's pretty easy. Like, Ron DeSantis just made a huge miscalculation.
Right. Yeah.
And he has no political instincts, and he realizes now he should have waited. Maybe he thought that he couldn't afford to wait until 2028.
Yep.
And then Chris Christie is just looking for some type of commentating job.
Yep.
Vivek he's like, why not?
Yeah.
He has $700, $800, $900 million. If you want, he's a young man, and it opens some doors for him, I guess, in some ways. It sounds like he's having fun. Yeah. And then Nikki Haley, I think, thinks that she has a future in the Republican Party, and apparently so don't the Koch network.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah, and I don't know. She's been positioned as that for years now, as like, I mean, a future star of the GOP. But if you get the Kochs behind you, I mean, get the Koch money behind you, that can go a long way. But I think that there's not a lot of sort of genuine grassroots enthusiasm exactly behind that.
You know what gets in the way a little bit for her is like the whole woman thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the whole woman thing, and I do think to some extent, in the U.S., like, it could be the case, as it has been elsewhere, like in the UK, that like our first female head of state will be a psycho right winger for that reason. Like, I can conceive of that being the case for similar reasons why it happened with Thatcher. But I think at the same time, you're right. In this climate, the Republicans are not like psyched about supporting any woman.
Do you think, though, that I understand that she thinks that she has a future in the Republican Party, and maybe she, is I mean, she thinks that she has to maintain her bona fides with the establishment of the Republican Party, and then could somehow tack more MAGA in the future. But the fact is, it feels like there's a delusion that the old Republican Party is going to come back.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to, I guess, maybe just like the Koch network, wants to maintain enough influence in the existing Republican Party to, cut taxes and to get rid of regulation. But that's it. I mean, here's an interesting thing. We played this during the debate, but I'd like to play it now because the first thing that happened, and I had seen this clip just before the debate, and Ron DeSantis brought it up. And now that I think about it, I had seen this debate from that guy, Bill Mitchell. Do you remember him?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Bill Mitchell he was a huge Trump fanatic.
Yeah.
And now he's a huge Ron DeSantis fanatic.
Mm-hmm.
And
free agent fanatic sort of thing.
Exactly. And he played this clip earlier in the day, which leads me to now it just occurs to me, of course he did, because the DeSantis people knew that DeSantis was going to open with this and he wanted it out there. But this is what DeSantis hit Nikki Haley with at the beginning of the debate. And then, of course, she backed off it and claimed that she didn't do it and that she really did hate trans and gay people, essentially. But here is this clip.
Madam Ambassador, another question is what care should be on the table when a 12-year-old child in this country assigned female at birth says, actually, I feel more comfortable living as a boy. What should the law allow the response to be?
Well, I think the law should stay out of it, and I think parents should handle it.
Madam.
And the bill,
I mean,
what was?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Bill Mitchell caption wasn't there, but it was like basically being critical of her, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Digging a hole deeper every day.
I think he said this is disqualifying
Right.
for a Republican candidate. And it probably is.
No, it is. Yeah.
But I think like the Koch brothers don't care so much about the culture wars unless they need to. And she virtually backed off of that whole thing during the debate. But it was interesting how damaging the idea of like the Koch brother libertarian don't have the government involved.
Yeah, no, I know. And that's actually, I think even just rhetorically, libertarianism has never been deader in the GOP than it is right now. Like even rhetorically, I think it was always the embrace of libertarianism was always cynical and complete BS, considering that their support for the police state and endless war. But even there's no more. You're not even allowed to rhetorically nod to it anymore. It's just there's no interest.
Well, what's your view then of their kind of the House Republicans and some in the Senate now, their reticence to send more aid to Ukraine? That's a little bit more like isolationist at the very least.
Yeah, and I think that's right, because I think again part of whatever on the right now there's an embrace of internationalism in the sense of the international far right. Like that's, quite popular to embrace that. But I think that the Trump-esque pseudo isolationist tone, which a lot of Republicans are still getting used to, but I do think that's what we're seeing basically in that kind of positioning.
But do you think that you can even like call it an ideological sort of, I guess, component, or like I don't even think you can pull that far out from it. It just so happens that like somebody said don't send to Ukraine.
Yeah.
That pulled a decent amount in certain Republican circles.
Yeah.
I mean, because none of them are saying deny Israel aid.
Right.
And so there's no like the idea that this is like isolationist or even anti-war or it's just simply seems to be this random thing. It could have been anything else, and it happened to be this, and this stuck, and that's it. And
yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty nakedly just like partisan in that like Joe Biden wants this, so we don't. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right. But I think that it's there is no coherent ideology to it beyond that sort of cynical performance you're talking about. And certainly, like, the isolationism, even that is about as fake as a libertarianism was, because as you say, like, they're not going to oppose, sending tons of money to Israel and things like that. Like, that's still, like, not on the table for something Republicans are going to come out against.
You mentioned like the demise of the libertarian perspective in the party, and I have to say, like, I don't know that I've ever been doing this for as long as I and gone a longer period of time not hearing from a libertarian caller. It has been
that's funny. Yeah,
it has been heartbreaking for me, but it is the case. It's been very sad. They don't seem to be around that much at all anymore. But it's interesting that all of the most, I guess, vibrant libertarians have been, former leftists, at least in sort of the media space that we've had. And one of the people that they championed was, J.D. Vance from Ohio, who was supposedly this new breed of Republican. I mean, who cared about the working guy? Of course, he was a former Wall Streeter.
Right.
And also a libertarian who was going to come out in defense of libertarian policies. This is a guy who was talking about the train safety until he actually had to vote for it. And now apparently, and there seems to be this big push from the right. J.D. Vance has come out and called on Merrick Garland to investigate Robert Kagan for a piece that he wrote. I think it was in the Washington Post.
Yeah.
Talking about dictatorship. I mean, this is stunning.
Right.
Here's the letter. I wish to address your attention to a recent opinion piece published in the pages of a widely circulated American newspaper based on my review of public charging documents that the Department of Justice filed in courts of law. Let me just get this out here. Put it a little bit bigger on my screen. I suspect that one or both of you might characterize this article as an invitation to insurrection, a manifestation of criminal conspiracy, or an attempt to bring about a civil war. He's basically saying that he's writing. I mean, this is what's so bizarre about this. He's simply writing about what could happen if Donald Trump became dictatorial. And it's all hypothetical. Now, I know J.D. Vance is just doing this as for show, but it really is sort of stunning.
Yeah. I mean, it's I don't know. It's, I think the total unseriousness of it is like, I mean, for someone that we were sold as being a thoughtful new kind of Republican, like, this is just really stupid, cheap, unserious kind of stunt stuff. And I guess, like, troubling in the sense that, like, however serious it is about, like, actually asking anyone to be investigated for this, it just displays so much contempt for anyone that it's, like, marketed to appeal to right? Like, it doesn't make any sense logically. It's just supposed to be some cheap, like, attempt to score points against the justice, against prosecutions of the people who actually, like, did storm the Capitol, and equating, like, writing an op-ed with that. I don't know. It's just, like, really, really silly in this way that is, I don't know, profoundly depressing.
And we should say that, like, this is coming on the heels of Mike Johnson releasing all this footage from January 6th and them replaying one situation where one cop refused, or two cops refused, to fight off hundreds of club wielding, essentially, Capitol stormers. And they're saying this is evidence that it was all an inside job or something to that effect.
Right.
But play this. This is a clip from the Steve Bannon show. What is the number on this? It is number 10. He is Kash Patel is on. He was a Trump aide. He apparently is going to be named the national security, one of the national security officials in the coming Trump administration. And he's formerly from the Defense Department. Here is Kash Patel on Steve Bannon show explaining what the intention of the next Trump administration is.
Highly confident that when you go back and is a senior member of this administration, President Trump's administration, starting in the afternoon of the 20th of January of 2025, do you feel confident that you will be able to deliver the goods, that we can have serious prosecutions and accountability? And I want the Morning Joe producers that watch us and all the producers that watch us, this is just not rhetoric. We're absolutely dead serious. We're not. You cannot have a constitutional republic and allow what these deep staters have done to the country. The deep state, the administrative state, the fourth branch of government never mentioned in the Constitution, is going to be taken apart brick by brick. And the people that did these evil deeds will be held accountable and prosecuted, criminal prosecutions. Cash, I know you're probably going to be head of the CIA. But do you believe that you can deliver the goods on this in a pretty short order the first couple of months so we can get rolling on prosecutions?
Yes, we got the bench for it, Bannon, and you know those guys. I'm not going to go out there and say their names right now so the radical left-wing media can terrorize them. But, excuse me, the one thing we learned in the Trump administration the first go-around is we got to put in all America patriots top to bottom. And we got them for law enforcement. We got them for intel collection. We got them for offensive operations. We got them for DOD, CIA, everywhere. And the one thing we will do that they never will do is we will follow the facts and the law and go to courts of law and correct these justices and lawyers who have been prosecuting these cases based on politics and actually issuing them as lawfare. We will go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media. Yes, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We're going to come after you. Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out. But yeah, we're putting you all on notice. And Steve, this is why they hate us. This is why we're tyrannical. This is why we're dictators.
Fair enough.
He really expanded that portfolio too,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, Bannon's like, we're going to, this is not rhetoric. We're going to take out the administrative state. And then Patel is just like went on to basically any critic.
Yeah. Yeah. He was like, why stop there? I mean, it's funny because it's the kind of thing that's just like, it's classic right-wing talk radio rhetoric, right? Like to some extent, it's the kind of thing you would hear in right-wing talk radio going back to the 1990s. But what is different is that, like you said, and it's actually 100% serious, that this person is likely to be in a position of power in a future Trump administration.
and they both were in positions of power in the last Trump administration.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And so to some extent, we are used to people like that in the right telling, because they have so much contempt for their audience. So we're used to them telling them what they want to hear. Give us power and we will punish your enemies. That's what we'll do. Give us power and your enemies will suffer. We will punish them, the people who are hurting America. And everyone sort of agrees that that they're just like pandering. But I think what has taken a lot of adjustment, especially for the sort of elite media, to grasp that like the people, like those people actually mean it now, and those people actually mean it, and they're actually going to try to do it. It's not just a thing said to win elections anymore. It's actually a statement of intent.
Well, what's your sense of, like, based on some of what I've heard from Trump, from Bannon, and that whole, 2025 project that they call it, of the pre-approved kind of people that are going to come in and dismantle the administrative state. It seems to me that the lesson that Trump and his orbit took from last time around is like, oh no, we're like not going to mess around this time. We're not going to have those wet blankets. say that we can't invoke the Insurrection Act to go into cities to quell protesters. We're not gonna listen to these calls for continuity in certain administrative positions, regardless of what had been done before. Like that's what seems like to me the major lesson the Trump loyalists took. And that is one of the more scary things that we're looking at when we're looking down the barrel of a potential Trump presidency. 2.0.
I think that's exactly right, because I think the lesson that some of these people got from the first Trump presidency was that the people who sort of glommed onto him to like get back into the White House, like, were not all on their side, and we saw by the end of his term that they were starting to get serious about this administrative state stuff. Like they were actually unveiling plans then to do what they're now promising to do. It took them a long time to get organized enough to do it.
Getting rid of the civil service.
To get rid of this.
Essentially the civil service code and open up about 40,000 jobs to political appointees.
To make them political appointees instead. And so I think like the people who want to sort of use Trump as a means to get power are going to be more systematic about it this time and let fewer of those sort of milquetoast Republicans along for the ride.
It's a terrifying prospect in many respects, and also like exacerbated by the fact that the candidate that is going to face Trump, I think we can be fairly confident, again with my force majeure caveat on the matchup, is going to be Joe Biden. And it feels like that Biden is not terribly well positioned right now to face Donald Trump. I mean, you're going to have at least 2 or 3 other candidates on the ballot who are going to appeal to, significantly to the left of, or depending on who the candidate is, to the left of Biden. I'm thinking like Cornel West and Jill Stein. And you have Robert F. Kennedy, who I don't know that I would characterize him to the left of Biden on a lot of things. But, it does have the Kennedy name. So the margins, and we're already talking about an election that in terms of the electoral vote is going to be so marginally close. And there's a lot of people who are saying, based upon Biden's, what he's done in terms of like this assault on Gaza, that they can't bring themselves to vote for the guy. Certainly there are many in the Muslim community who are like, this is, an outrage. What do we do?
That's a great question. I know. I have no, I don't know. I don't know. Look, there's honestly still a lot of time before this election is going to happen, and a lot can and will change. But I mean, if I was, I think the last thing I would do if I was an ally of Joe Biden is just sort of preemptively prepare the list of people you're going to get mad at and blame if this goes wrong. and I have a feeling some of that's already happening. But yeah.
and I mean, it's and they're preemptively blaming them in many respects. I mean, it's not like a surprise mystery that maybe people would see these images taking place in Israel and Gaza, and and it's also not completely. It's not hard to imagine a Democratic president, or really any U.S. president, saying to Israel, like, you need to have a ceasefire. Like, this isn't like,
no, I know.
This is not, this doesn't feel like it's, a big ask of an administration. I mean, there is if this was a political calculation, they made a very horrible one. And if it's an ideological calculation, it's sick and twisted.
I completely agree. Yeah. And I think, I mean, I do, I think that, you know, the political calculation as usual here, I think is that, like, it will be the responsibility of certain people to hold their nose and vote for Biden, and it's always their responsibility to hold their nose and support the Democrat no matter what. And what that sort of fails to account for is like what they're actually doing to actually make people want to like pull the lever for them, and
Right.
and what they're doing to make it a much harder than it has to be. And I think they actually need to consider that seriously instead of as we just said, preemptively getting mad at people about it.
Let's just touch on before you go what's going on in the House.
Yeah.
Sort of fascinating. Mike Johnson is doing exactly what Kevin McCarthy did. Apparently, I mean, if the reporting is correct, his plans are more or less to do what McCarthy tried to do, but it got him ousted out of leadership. And there seems to be brewing some dissent, and we'll see. I don't, Matt Gaetz, it feels like I don't know, is Matt Gaetz, like, he seems to have like taken an extended vacation. He's done. He did what he wanted to do, and now he's gone. There doesn't seem to be really any implications to what he did, other than Kevin McCarthy is going to be a lobbyist quicker than he would have otherwise been. George Santos is gone. As of this week. Dave Joyce may leave. Matt Rosendale, it looks like, will leave the House if he has to run against John Tester in Montana. And Rosendale, we should say, is one of the people who ousted Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah.
So that's sort of fun. And it also, it appears that there's an attempt in Montana to put abortion access on the ballot, which will help Tester. He beat Rosendale once before.
Yeah.
Are we just going to see a repeat? I mean, like the House fascinates me now because they did this whole thing, and it doesn't seem to. I'm not quite clear what they got, other than maybe a delay on the Ukraine funding and a delay on. Well, I don't think the Israel funding was up and was part of it yet, but I guess a delay on the Ukraine funding. It appears.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, I think, well, first of all, I think it's difficult to it would be difficult to get anyone involved in this to coherently explain like what they thought the eventual positive outcome would be. So sure, like, it's hard to say what they won out of this, but I think they can notch it as a victory in the sense that you say, like, delaying or possibly sinking the Ukraine aid and just sort of preventing other things from getting done in general, but yeah, I mean, at the end of this, who the hell knows what that was for?
I love seeing Marjorie Taylor Greene upset about this stuff.
No, I know.
Because it does feel like they're going to go through with the process, and but I mean, I guess if the idea was to get a religious zealot in there, they've done that, and who knows what happens in the future. He's third from power in the country.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, Alex Pareene, we will undoubtedly have more information, I guess, come January.
Sure.
But if we don't see you, Happy New Year.
Well, Happy New Year to you as well.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
It just occurred to me, we got to start saying that to guests.
Happy holidays. Yeah.
Happy holidays.
That's right.
All right. Well, we'll see you in 2024. Alex Pareene. Folks, check out the Politics of Everything podcast, which Alex co-hosts. Thanks so much for joining us, Alex.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Francesca Fiorentini will be here. She is the host of the podcast, The Bitchuation Room. And Emma has an announcement. And people are asking in the IMs if we're about to finally hear the name of your fiance.
Oh, no.
If it's
no, never.
Okay.
Never.
It's not Franchesca.
No, it's not Franchesca.
No, all right, there you go. All right, we'll be right back. We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. I'd like to welcome back to the program Francesca Fiorentini, the host of the Bitchuation Room.
Yes.
Still one of my favorite podcast names out there, gotta say.
Now, what is
Thank you.
What is Bitchuation Room?
Well, it's like the Situation Room, but we do.
Okay.
It's like the same amount of coke, but a little bit less murder. So there's like less assassination, same amount of drugs. No, yeah, it's my podcast, guys. You know it, Sam. You've been on it live.
I know. I
in the
was just,
flesh.
I just thought like I was just sort of pretending like that's the kind of question you get asked.
So what is a Bitchuation Room?
Why Bitchuation Room?
And are there canines in this room? Yes. Yeah, we're going to go real NPR. I like that. And how did you come up with that name? I don't know. It sounded stupid and fun.
Where
and
do you get your funny ideas from?
Yeah. I've been called Wolf Klitzer. There, I said it.
Were you a class clown?
What was that?
Were you a class clown?
Not to brag, but superlatives in both middle school class clown, also high school class clown.
Whoa.
And those people always turn out to be like mega super famous stars. So I can't even believe I had time for this.
I was also class clown in my high school. If we're bragging, Emma.
Emma, what were you?
I went to like a really touchy-feely all-girls school where
Everybody's
we were
got excuses,
scholar
right?
leaders. No, we weren't allowed to do superlatives because it might make people feel bad. So
Okay, there you go.
we didn't know what we were good at, and that's why I am the way I am.
Did you get grades or did you get like just different types of bark?
No, we close. We did get grades, but we did trimesters, and it was all like comments, and it was always more focused on the teacher's assessment, and most of it was about Emma doesn't do her homework enough or show up enough and is fooling around all the time. So that's what I could have been class clown. It could have been
look how
like
you turned
guys.
out, just like speaking your mind and stuff, and anchoring news shows. Jesus.
Well, that's a little bit generous.
Well, let's get down to brass tacks for a moment. My understanding is that you two have an announcement to make.
Hell yeah, we do. The Bitchuation Room podcast will be live in San Francisco on Sunday, January 28th, and Emma Vigeland of the Majority Report will be there.
Yes.
So get excited.
Whoa. San Francisco Sketchfest is legendary.
Yeah, still going strong. What year is this? I don't know. What are we?
It's been going on
21st. Okay. Not that
I'd
crazy.
say decades.
Yeah.
But we sold out last year. We've got a bigger venue. It's at the Gateway Theater. Also joining us is Miles Gray of the Daily Zeitgeist. If there's any Zeitgang fans out there, Frantifa fans, obviously. Left is besties. What do you guys call yourselves? Did I just? Yes, it's an ist. I got it.
Left is besters.
Besters. Yeah. I like besties, but okay. Anyway.
Majority reporters.
Yeah,
I like that.
majority reporters in the end, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Occasionally Sederistas you'll get.
I prefer that. I
hate that.
Viglanders.
I think I might hate
the
that
Viglanders
more.
and Sederistas. Please come out though, everyone. It'll be so fun. That's on Sunday, the 28th of January,
Yes.
7 p.m. I know it's like a whatever work school night, but whatever. We'll end early. It'll be chill. And also comedian Nato Green is there. And then I'm doing stand up with Nato the day before, so Saturday. So if you want to make it a whole weekend lineup, come to that as well.
Now, let me ask you this. You are a fairly recent parent. What do you do with a child in that situation? Do you bring the child to the show?
Yeah. Well, we have cages, so it's sort of like a coat check, but for kids.
Right.
No. Dad's staying behind with the baby, which is good because she's much better behaved with him than with me, I think.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's the way kids are. They like, what is it? There's some like they behave 800 times worse with the mom than the dad.
My kids didn't even recognize my existence for like the first, I don't know, 3 to 5 years.
You're just a big teddy bear. You're just whatever.
I just was like more like a total indifference.
Who's that ghost man?
Yeah.
So it'll be chill. Mama needs to get out of the house. So stay behind and we'll hang, we'll drink. It's a lot. It's been a rough few months, guys. Can't think of why, but a rough time to be a new mom too, because my algorithms on Instagram are horrendous. It is a lot of cute babies doing cute things. And then because I'm for Palestinian human rights, a lot of babies not alive anymore. So that's just the dissonance is pretty upsetting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People I know who are on Instagram a lot, that has been, for some reason, Instagram seems, I guess maybe if you're on Twitter, you're already sort of like, you're already prepared for the horror that you see on Twitter, both in terms of like, for a long time, the anti-Semitism on Twitter was just sort of, one of the new features that Elon Musk introduced, along with like the changing the blue checks. It was also as much anti-Semitism as you can take. There's actually a
auto
filter.
reply.
There's a filter you can actually in your settings on Twitter where you can say a tremendous amount of anti-Semitism or an extreme tremendous amount of anti-Semitism. But now, of course, where you see the videos of just the most incredibly tragic stuff happening in barbaric, it seems to me, in Gaza, but Instagram, it seems like, is a place where there's a lot more sort of I don't know, like.
Well, it's like it's the algorithm. It feels like is a bit more sophisticated in its like filtering of what you want to see or what you're like. If you're a Zionist, you're getting a lot of the same kind of content, and same thing on the Palestinian side.
A lot of funny memes.
Yeah,
real funny.
And it's
ethnic
also
cleansing memes. You wouldn't get it.
It's less populated by people who are actually like journalists or in media. So a lot more propaganda on Instagram, and it's mostly Zionist propaganda. And like, I also think that the Instagram element versus Twitter is like it's people in your personal life that you normally thought or might have, known in passing. You're like, they're a nice
Who are less
liberal.
political.
Yeah,
and,
like you're a nice liberal. I mean, you like Black Lives Matter, and then it's like all Arabs are racist or rapists, basically, and you're just totally thrown for a loop. And then they're posting a lot of those things in sequence.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of people who are like, I'm finally going to break my silence about what's going on, and I just want to say that bad things are bad, and I've grown the courage to say it. Bad things are bad, and bad things happen in the world right now, and love is good, and I just think we should all love. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, that's the other thing that happens. You're like, oh wow, that's so brave. I see you trying to keep your job and or become employable.
It's the dumbest shit ever too. And it's like, remember when Justin Bieber posted that praying for Israel thing, and it was in the photo was actually an image of destroyed Gaza, and then he deleted it.
Well, Bieber was also the one who said that if Anne Frank were alive, he thinks she'd be a believer.
Yeah, right.
He's consistent. He's good on this. He's good on these issues.
What? He said that if Anne Frank was alive, that he would be a fan of hers.
Should be a fan.
That
should be a belieber.
That's what he wrote in the Anne Frank guest book.
I think Anne Frank would be a Cedarista and a vigilante.
She would be a believer. That's a problem. She was like a preteen.
She might have been. Yeah. The only Oasis, I will say, Fran, on Instagram.
You also would have been an Oasis fan.
Maybe.
All right. No.
Are Matt's your partner's satirical posts
his videos
of being a fake liberal Zionist? I can't encourage people to check those out more just because it's like channeling all of the rage I feel about the discourse into something that actually makes me laugh.
Yeah. Matt Lieb jokes. He is Jewish, although he never opens his videos with that because it's pretty apparent. but he talks about it. It's just
this one.
Can we watch one? Would you mind watching your husband?
Watch the latest one. I knew we were going to do this. Why did I know we were going to do this? Going to come on here. I'm going to talk about the baby daddy. Going to upstage me. No, let's watch. The latest one's pretty good. I think people know people who literally are saying these kinds of things.
This is why I need this, because I know too many people. Yeah, exactly.
So I'm a liberal Zionist, and I have to say that I actually do agree with a lot of what the pro-Palestinian left has to say about Israel. The occupation is awful and it needs to end. The settlers are crazy, and we have to do something about that. Netanyahu is a criminal. He's going to lead Israel to ruin. The 17-year siege of Gaza has been brutal, and it is completely unconscionable. I agree that Israel is essentially, in parts of it, an apartheid state. But like, the one thing is, after the 7th, the thing is that I don't care anymore. I'm bad now. Because, here's the thing. After the 7th, I just kind of realized if it's us or them, then it's got to be us. No more them. I never thought I could be a fascist, but I think I'm a fascist now. And it's kind of great because I have all these new friends. Me and Amy Schumer and the ugly guy from Stranger Things. And I'm getting all these new job opportunities. And I'm like, okay, if this is what... I didn't know that fascism came with stuff. If I had known that, I'd have been a fascist a long time ago. It's kind of nice, too, because now I get to be like, ooh, I'm bad. So I'm just going to be bad now. I can still believe all that other stuff, too, but just not now. I'm going to wait till later. But for now, I'm going to be bad. Okay. Bye-bye.
This is so amazing.
And I think we all know people who are like that. You're like, hey, rational. But no, and there's no consequences for now being bad. And we'll just wait till it's over. We'll wait till everyone from Gaza is dead and they're all in the desert or wherever they're supposed to go. And then we'll just be like, God, that was sad. That was too bad.
Yeah, right. And then we'll call it maybe like a genocide later. Not when we could have prevented it. And then let's quibble with the notions of it. Even as genocide scholars warn that these are crimes of genocide. Genocide's only a thing that happened before, it's something we can look back on and read in history as opposed to an ongoing one where we could have prevented it. Then, after the killing is over, we'll call it a genocide. But when we could have stopped it, that's when that word was it's just too inflammatory.
Yeah. I mean, this is sort of a grim comparison, but I've been thinking about, the BLM movement and how many people would have in the moment been incensed of George Floyd being like slowly killed. Like if they were there, if they saw something going down, like the fact that we are witnessing this slow death of all of the Palestinians in Gaza. And then, liberals are waiting for it to be done, and then they can come out and say something about it. But it's taking a really long time. And, today Biden isn't here in Los Angeles raising money among, the Hollywood elites and all the libs here. So it's an interesting moment in Hollywood, I think, particularly around Israel-Palestine, because especially off the back of the SAG strike and the WGA strike, you're now seeing this new rift and real cancel culture levied at, entertainers and agents and writers and anyone who would speak out on this, whether tacit or overtly, from the river to the sea, no one will hire me. That's what we're saying around my house.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, it's been, we haven't, I mean, we sort of stayed out of like, I'm trying to think of like what was the Margulies? I can't say.
Oh my God.
No, you got it right. You got it right.
Margulies.
You got it right this time.
Did she say, was she the one who said, I changed my Instagram profile or something like that? Or was that somebody else who was like talking about, that they had actually like changed their Instagram profile for BLM, and that commitment is not being matched.
It was just that was Amy Schumer
crazy.
To a degree, right? Like, I mean, a lot of Schumer was the one that posted the first they came for the blacks and stuff. Or I mean, there's a lot of people telling on themselves about how transactional their solidarity with marginalized groups are.
Yeah, Juliana Margulies said, "Black lesbians, you're below Jews." That's what she said, and then has since apologized, of course, but ultimately named that hierarchy and was like, therefore, shut up, get on board with ethnic cleansing and genocide.
What does that mean? You're below? I'm not even sure I follow that statement.
She is saying, how dare you as a black lesbian speak out for Palestinian human rights, because in the hierarchy,
if you were in Gaza, you would be worse off than Jews? What?
I don't think it's that. I think it's in the hierarchy of racial and racial power and in our society, you're lower on the totem pole. So get in line, because you should be thankful that you have anything. I mean, that's effectively what she was saying. Like,
I don't even want to talk about this anymore, because if we have to, I desperately don't want to play this.
That's fine.
I desperately don't want to play this clip. Oh God, no.
You don't want to get even more enraged?
Bradley keeps talking. Well, the thing is, she was she was on The Good Wife, right?
No, no. This is why it's crazy.
She's not good though, Sam.
Well, no, I mean, I didn't take that. I didn't take that.
But Sam, what's crazy is
you enjoy my socialism. She did say she put the black square on her Instagram.
Oh, that was her then. Okay, but what's so crazy, Sam?
These are parodies. That's what I'm saying. Matt's videos, every time he does a parody, someone actually in real life says that exact same thing. Does exactly that.
Well, what's insane about the clip is that she says she plays a lesbian on the show. What, the Apple show, right? With Jennifer Aniston.
Apple show. Wow.
Yeah, the morning show. The morning show.
Yeah.
And she then slips into as a lesbian and says that in the clip, like
as a lesbian on TV.
But at one point she just says as a lesbian.
As a lesbian journalist.
And she's not a lesbian. Yeah, as a lesbian journalist.
She's been married for 16 years.
That's just the role she plays on television. It's really nuts. Really nuts.
Anyway, these are levels of delusion, and for some reason, the more money you have, the more untouchable you are, the more convinced you are that Hamas is Bugs Bunnying a tunnel into your villa. Straight up, like there's a correlation here.
All right. Well, let's talk about another lunacy, but this is on. Well, it's not completely unrelated. Speaker Johnson, I don't know how much longer we'll have him around. Although I suspect longer than you were starting to hear some squawks from the conservatives. I don't think that's going to be as big of a deal for him as one might think. But just as a reminder, and then we'll talk about what's going on in Texas in terms of this abortion situation with Ken Paxton and this woman. But here is Mike Johnson at an event for the National Association of Christian Lawmakers. This guy is probably maybe, I guess, after Mike Pence, the second most powerful theocrat we've ever had elected to office. And listen to Speaker Johnson talk about how what was involved in the race to become speaker.
The Lord told me very clearly to prepare and be ready. Be ready for what? Okay, I don't know. We're coming to a Red Sea moment. What does that mean, Lord? And then when the speaker.
Oh wait, can we start this? You started again with the volume up. He said the Lord came to him and told him to be prepared for a Red Sea moment.
The Lord told me very clearly to prepare and be ready. Be ready for what? Okay, I don't know. We're coming to a Red Sea moment. What does that mean, Lord? And then when the speaker's race happened and Kevin McCarthy, who's a dear friend of mine, was deposed, vacated from the chair. Oh, wow. Well, this is what the Lord may have been preparing us for. And so I started praying more about that. And then the Lord began to wake me up through this 3-week process we're in the middle of the night and to speak to me and to write things down, plans and procedures and ideas on how we could pull the conference together. Now, at the time, I assumed the Lord is going to choose a new Moses. And, thank you, the Lord. Lord, you're going to allow me to be Aaron to Moses. And so I worked to get Steve Scalise elected speaker. That didn't happen. And then Jim Jordan, who's like another big brother of mine. No, that didn't happen. And then Tom Emmer. And, ultimately 13 people ran for the post. And the Lord kept telling me to wait. So I waited. And then at the end, when it came to the end, the Lord said, now, step forward. Me? I'm supposed to be Aaron. No, the Lord said, step forward.
Yeah. So King Theocrat there, right? Like, I mean, we saw this in the context of Mike Pence as well, who saw
Matt, put us up. Thanks.
His godly duty as to serve under Donald Trump, right? Like he was divinely called, and so it is now because God put him in this position. He has to serve God in this position, and not the people, but God.
I mean, it's one thing, and someone, Cole from Michigan's asked me, how is a VP more powerful than a speaker? I'm just the line of succession, I guess. But arguably, the Speaker of the House is more powerful. I mean, it sort of depends on the context, I guess. If they own the Senate, if they control the Senate, he certainly is arguably more powerful. But what to me, what I find super disturbing about this clip is not just the idea of like, God came to me and said, you should do this, right? Because people do that. I don't have a personal conversation with God. But some people do. That's one thing. But let's be clear who Moses was. He's not saying God came to me and said, do this and wait and have patience. No, he perceives this role to be one of Moses. In other words, go up against the tyrant, the dictator, and deliver your people to the promised land. That's what it means to be Moses. And so this is not just a guy who says, like, I have a personal relationship with God. I mean, if people have personal relationships with God, as long as it's personal, it doesn't involve me. But this is a guy who is a megalomaniac. That this type of like Christian theocracy places this guy as he sees himself. I don't know what that was. He sees himself as some type of like some type of savior. It's terrifying.
He's Aaron, though. He was just supposed to be Aaron. I just want to be Aaron. Okay. Now that I've, crushed everyone else. The understudy is like here. I also think that Christians do this thing, and I'm sorry, but they kind of like reverse engineer when God talks to them. It's like he actually wanted to be speaker from jump.
Right.
But then he's like, and then God said, wait. And so I did. And it's like, no, you were probably throwing a fit. And so you're telling it like as if, you were very, very patient.
Right. Yeah. The whole part where he's like, me? Oh, okay. It's not my idea to be speaker. I was just told to do it by God. I have no aspirations or ambitions in that way.
Exactly. It's like watering down their own ambition to pretend like they are more pure than the other kind of grabby politicians because God is the one thrusting them forward. They're merely a pebble in a stream.
I'm just doing what I'm told. I'm not, this is not my idea. Really, can't believe how, this guy also, though, I will say this, he has had a tremendous amount of luck that that October 7th happened and the Israeli reaction happened because he has escaped a tremendous amount of scrutiny. Because of how the news has been sucked up. I mean, this guy supposedly has no bank accounts or only savings accounts that don't provide any interest whatsoever. He made a decent amount of money. Yeah, are you aware of this? He has no bank accounts listed on his he has no assets listed on his financial disclosures. It's very strange.
But he has a mortgage.
It's a little bit dubious, but
doesn't he also give you? I guess his name is Hermie, but the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer elf. You remember that guy?
Yes.
Yeah, Hermie. Yeah, yes, he's got the dentist vibes, the ears, the rosiness. Anyway, maybe I'm getting a little too holiday with it.
No. That is like who looks like Herman. No, not Hermie, the dentist. Oh yeah, no, this guy. Yes, he's the one who wants to be the dentist. But also from these claymation movies, the guy Herman Meisterberger or whatever. Herbie. He looks like Bill Barr.
What?
Meisterberger, the villain from.
Meisterberger. Okay, yeah.
I thought Bill Barr was like universally Barney Rubble. Like I thought we decided that a long time ago.
All right, well.
Anyway,
a little off topic.
All
right, let's talk about what's going on in Texas, because this is no coincidence. We have a theocrat now as the Speaker of the House, and this is, I think, these type of stories, to the extent that there's going to be any type of turnout for the 2024 election. This is going to be one of the biggest reasons. Right now, a state court judge granted a request yesterday to allow for an abortion by a woman. She is pregnant. Fetus has been diagnosed with a fatal condition. Woman Kate Cox is 20 weeks pregnant. Maya Guerrera Gamble, Travis County District Court, sided with the woman to allow her to basically enjoin the law from giving her civil or criminal penalties. Then, there's this whole thing of like, she wants desperately to be pregnant. As if like that's the way that you justify it. You passed the test because you want to be pregnant. The point being that to carry this child to term or to when it could survive could also inhibit her ability to have a child in the future. Her fetus has trisomy 18, which is a genetic condition, and it leads to miscarriage or stillbirth, or the infant's death within the first year. She's been to the emergency room 4 times because of pain and discharge, including once after her suit was filed on Tuesday. Doctors have repeatedly told her that under Texas law, she had to continue her pregnancy. And then the Texas Attorney General's office argued on Thursday against the order. And after the ruling, Ken Paxton sends this letter. Do you have a copy of it? Yeah. Pop this up. Let me remind us here. This is pretty stunning. To whom it may concern, it's come to our attention that Damala Carson, MD, a physician holding privileges at your hospital, intends to perform a dilation and evacuation abortion on Kate Cox. Today, an activist Travis County judge signed a temporary restraining order purporting to enjoin the Attorney General's office and the medical board from enforcing some of the state's abortion laws against Dr. Carson if she performs an abortion on Ms. Cox. We feel it's important for you to understand the potential long-term implications if you permit such an abortion to occur at your facility. Scroll up for me. First, the TRO, that being the temporary restraining order, will not insulate you or anyone else from civil and criminal liability for violating Texas's abortion laws, including first-degree felony prosecutions. Next page. Second, it's the hospitals.
Sorry, Sam, I'm going to scroll up a little bit. Go back, Bradley, just because there's a paragraph I got to change the scroll. Go back to where you were. There you
go. Civil penalties for each. Okay. The TRO purports to temporarily enjoin actions brought by the Attorney General's office and the medical board against Dr. Carson and her staff, but it does not enjoin actions brought by private citizens. So they're talking about that vigilante law where you can sue them. Nor does it prohibit a district attorney or county attorney from enforcing Texas's abortion laws against you, Dr. Carson, or anyone else. And we remind you that the temporary restraining order will expire long before the statute of limitations. Okay, and then there's 2 other things, but the point is, this is an active threat to the doctors and the hospital saying, do not perform this abortion, despite the fact that a court has ruled that she can get one. I mean, they're forcing this woman to carry a fetus that is very likely to die before viability and would seriously impair her health. And this is where they're going. I mean, this is where they are. Doctor convicted of performing an illegal abortion in Texas can face prison and a sentence up to 99 years and fines of at least 100. So he's saying 2 things, right? Even in that just first paragraph. You'll be subject to lawsuits from private individuals. And I don't even know if there's a limitation on how many of those lawsuits can be filed.
Right.
And secondly, you perform this abortion, the restraining order is going to run out at one point, and we'll get you under the statute of limitations. We'll come and potentially convict you and the hospital and your staff and whatnot. It's, this is
bastards.
People say Handmaid's Tale, but this
that's
is
generous.
Where we're at. Exactly.
Because if you actually cared about childbearing women being able to have healthy new, kids to raise in our theocratic state like that, then you would actually protect this woman. You'd protect her ability to have kids in the future. You would want her to have a viable child, to fulfill whatever, Amazon Prime theocratic Christian future we have waiting for us. But this is pure cruelty. This is cruelty, wanting women to bleed out in their cars, wanting them to watch their children suffer, breathe their last breaths in the hospital in their arms or within a year or whatever it is, be strapped with hospital bills and doctor's bills. You know, I did reporting in El Salvador about this. You know, this was like 2016. Trump just got elected, or was about to be elected, I guess. And I was visiting women who had been in prison for 30 years for having miscarriages that were then deemed abortions. They would wake up in a hospital and sometimes they didn't know they were pregnant and be handcuffed to their beds. That's where we are. That's how close we are to that. And we're already seeing prison sentences come down for women. In a recent case, right, a woman who had miscarried in a bathroom, tried to flush the toilet, didn't even know that she was pregnant. So yeah, anyway,
in Ohio.
Right.
Yeah.
And she's being prosecuted for desecrating the corpse.
Which, I mean,
this,
a bloody mass that came out of her and the fetus was non-viable. And I guess she was supposed to inspect the corpse and then call the to see, you know, the remains of the fetus, and then call the cops just to make it clear she wasn't desecrating the corpse instead of flushing it down the toilet as she went through a very difficult medical episode. And like, I just, to your point though, Francesca, like, this really is about punishing women, and it goes so much deeper than, I would say, you know, maybe Republicans would say, well, we have to apply a uniform standard because it's a slippery slope before they start killing babies. But I think it's more even pathological. It's about punishing women who they determine are not perfect earthen vessels for the child. Like, these are deep, scary religious fundamentalist inclinations about like what the value of a woman's femininity is. And it's the value of, like, you go back to Henry VIII about like, can you produce an heir for me that is healthy and that is going to continue the line of me, the man. And women that have difficulties in that area, they don't see them as full women. And so, like, if they have medical episodes that hurt their fertility in the long run, that's fine, because that's God's natural law punishing her for not being a real woman in their eyes.
Or the young woman who was denied medicine because she's of childbearing age. I think that was actually in New York. And she spoke about that she was told that because she could get pregnant, didn't want kids, used protection always, had no intention of getting pregnant. She was denied her medicine in that moment. And it's just why that's in a blue state. So you're right. I mean, it's interesting also, a lot of, you know, like abortion rights activists talk about like the fertility clinics, like how far are we from, you know, so-called pro-lifers protesting the like embryos, you know what I mean? And other, like, they're not, but they might be.
Well,
but is
the point, is that this is why like cases like this are so important to them, because they must establish that a fetus under every circumstance is a person, is a citizen. And that's why you've got like the bloody mass needs to be treated as if it was a corpse of a person who had been born and died. That's why they are saying you cannot, regardless of the fact that this fetus is not viable and could cause you damage, we must treat it as if it's a person walking around right now and apply our laws to them. Because once they establish that, then they start going for the embryos. And we already see it coming from the other end. You know, when Matt Walsh said stuff that like, you know, that you need two parents, and that that getting pregnant via a surrogate, via IVF is unnatural and not right. Well, what makes it more natural or right for a woman who can't conceive, or a man who doesn't have, you know, sperm that works? I mean, they're coming for the entire process. They're going to own all of it, and they're going to dictate what is done, and they will just get beachhead after beachhead after beachhead, and they are not going to stop this assault. I mean, it's quite clear. They have a vision for how this stuff goes down, and we are going to we're all going to have to fall in line with their fundamentalism. Period. End of story. Well, that was encouraging and fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
Unbelievable. Should we try and do a fun clip? Let's see. Let's have, what do we got that's a fun clip? What do we have here?
Anna Margulies.
Oh, no.
No, Sam, I can't. Did we bring back that? I mean, we've done so much Tim Pool lately, but I think this was the one that I wanted to get to.
Okay, let's get this one.
13.
Emma's been waiting on this one for all week.
Yeah.
I just love, like...
She was offered a tour, sushi, and poker with the boys.
Yes. And it's just amazing to me. So, like, we said this yesterday. He's caught in a really weird spot in his career, which is that he really like has worn out in like Dave Rubin before him, or other liberals that had that, or people who he used to do Occupy reporting, and now he's a centrist guy, but he says everything he says is completely right wing, and that is becoming more and more clear to people that he's truly a right wing commentator. And so, like, what is the next step in his career when he can no longer pretend to be a liberal like Jimmy Dore, who's saying just right wing things? And he's now going down this kind of manosphere path about dating advice and like the differences between men and women.
Who better to get dating advice?
And that's the thing, is like, when Jordan Peterson did that stuff, he had the faux intellectualism and the degree.
And a child.
Yeah.
Like, so proof that he fucked.
Yeah.
Right, that one time.
Just to put it crudely.
Yes.
That one time.
And then the Andrew Tate guys, they're taking HGH, or maybe not him,
right,
but like they're working out and they're trying to perform a certain kind of traditional masculinity. But Tim can't really pull that off. So he's not either. He doesn't have the faux intellectualism or the aspirational nature for these lost
What's
young
the archetype
men.
here is, I think, the question. Like,
Let's say he's trying to win him over with his personality. If anything, here's what I'll say.
That's another problem.
Which is true. But I at least give him credit over someone, like Andrew Tate, who is so fragile he has to, insulate all his feelings with, the HGH and his massive pecs or whatnot. That's what I'll say about Tim Pool. Like, okay, go off, King.
How do you try a strategy that isn't proven to work?
And to be fair, though, I mean, Tim's still young, so there's still time.
There's still
let's set up this clip.
So basically, this is a continuation of this. He's going back to prehistoric times to talk about, how men are from Mars and women are from Venus. And he's using his favorite source. It's incredible. Every article, not every, but he's always citing the Daily Mail, the British tabloid.
He has alerts set.
He loves the frickin' Daily Mail.
His subscription to the National Enquirer ran out.
Exactly.
I think like 3 of the last 4 Tim clips we've played, he has just been reacting word for word from a Daily Mail piece.
So you're getting the news here.
Running, but my understanding, because I watched that when I watched a video about this Native American tribe where they run like hundreds of miles, like just full sprint and stuff like that. But let's read this.
What?
They say, if you envisage
Pause it for a second. I just fact check on this. Are there Native American tribes that can run hundreds of miles?
It's intellectual stuff you guys wouldn't understand.
Yeah,
I've seen Pocahontas. All right, there was that song.
Yeah, and
bro, did you hear about these natives that can sprint 100 miles?
Like they're running with the colors of the wind.
Yeah, they just like focus on a horizon and they go.
No, they're doing the Forrest Gump thing at the end of the movie. That's like their entire culture.
Why didn't they just run from the genociders? Yeah, that's crazy.
Right. Let's read this. They say, if you envisage a prehistoric hunter, the vision of a caveman might spring to mind. But a new study claims that these cavemen paled in comparison to their female counterparts. Oh, wow. While women have long been seen as child rearers and gatherers and men as hunters, researchers from the University of Notre Dame have debunked this theory. No, they didn't. They've made a claim. The study found that not only did prehistoric men engage in the practice of hunting, they probably did, but their female anatomy and biology would have made them intrinsically better suited for it. I completely disagree with that. That is a political statement. I do believe it's fair to say that women.
Oh my God! Wait a second.
Okay.
Does he provide evidence for that disagreement? There are other animals in the animal kingdom where the women are the hunters. Lions are like the one that comes right.
I'm pretty sure that's true. I mean, that's my understanding based on Lion King, but yeah.
No, I
that
mean,
is just exactly like what is based upon what does he disagree with what experts say about prehistoric? Like what?
I think I would be a better hunter in the wild than Tim.
I'm
bigger than him. I think
He once-
I might be taller, but I might weigh more.
He once went to the Natural Museum of History, and he made an assessment based upon a clay figure or something.
Yeah. Diorama.
All right, go back a little bit. Okay, go ahead.
I completely disagree with that. Their female anatomy and biology would have made them intrinsically better suited for it. I completely disagree with that. That is a political statement. I do believe it's fair to say that women hunted. Sure, women hunt today. And it's probably 80-20. Go to any hobby event. Bro, I'm sorry, man. Go to the skate park. 90% males. Good luck if there's a single female there. Go to a comic shop, a card shop. Go to the poker tables. It's the same. Shop? Yes, there are some women there. It's overwhelmingly dudes doing all.
When I think of modern hobbies that are most applicable to hunting and gathering, I think of skate parks.
It's those hunter-gatherer comic book buying.
Yeah, the Hunter Magic the Gathering, bro.
And then the playing poker. I mean, if you can think of anything analogous to the physicality needed to hunt a bear, I think about sitting down at a table and passing out cards.
Playing poker with the boys.
Playing cards.
Yeah.
Eating sushi, okay? Show me a prehistoric woman that can do that. I just love that he's reading, that at this point he's run out of content, so he's just reading things and getting triggered by them.
Yeah.
Is brilliant.
He's a single man. He's a single man that, as far as I know, that's upset that more women aren't coming to his skate park. I don't know if but I don't know. This just seems like a guy that's upset that his
He's
skate
been talking
park.
about his girlfriend recently.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well,
so he's literally defending cavemen. He's going back in time to defend prehistoric masculinity from, feminine.
Well, his
feminism.
proof is that there are more men than women at the poker table. Therefore, in prehistoric times, women were definitely not more suited for hunting than men. Obviously.
Duh.
Hello. Have you seen who's at the skate park when he goes there? I think we can extrapolate for that matter. On what the prehistoric people did. It's quite obvious. This is amazing. The guy doesn't. It's just amazing. I disagree. It's a political statement to try and assess what prehistoric people did. It's also a political statement that they hunted. How do we know that they hunted?
Yeah. Maybe it was just
because we found a couple of arrows.
Maybe just some feminist cave women who were trying to fool the historical record.
This is false flag.
But he doesn't even.
You know how deceptive women are.
Yeah. Well, the prehistoric women were famous for getting their info in the time capsules that they buried.
Right.
So go back a little bit and let's.
Email there. Go to a comic shop, a card shop. Go to the poker tables. It's the same. Yes, there are some women there. It's overwhelmingly dudes doing all of these things. I don't know what it is that women are doing. I don't hang out in spaces where there tend to be large groups of women. Perhaps they're shopping or something.
Can we make sure that
I have not
drop?
heard
You don't have to cut back to me. I just want to make sure that I don't know what women are doing. It needs to be a drop.
I don't know where they are.
The argument is that shopping is akin to gathering, and the reason why men want to score objectives is that it's akin to hunting. I believe it makes infinitely more sense that as women were gathering and men were hunting, this is why you have the trope of women shopping, because they're effectively going out and finding things to bring back to the family that the family needs. I think it's admirable. I don't see anything negative about it. And I think it's silly that people are offended at the notion that women like to shop. This is a funny thing to me. Guys go work. They slay the boar. They bring the meat back.
That's what Tim's doing right now.
They give the family food. Women go
Lock
out
the door and
collect
slay the boar.
things
Yeah, that's exactly
that are
right.
useful
That's
to
what
the
he
family.
does.
So if you look at this in like a 1950 sense of the wife shopping, and the man working.
1950s.
Well, yeah. Is the man going to go shopping for things the family needs when he's at work? No, the guy's at work handling the new account for, the TPS reports or whatever.
Slaying the boar.
The TPS
makes money.
Slaying the boar.
And the wife says, I'm
TPS reports, I believe that's from Office Space, right? Is that the thing? Is that or no, is that from there's
a movie that has TPS reports.
I want him to keep going and like deconstruct capitalism, like wage labor and all this, and be like, why
he's
did
aware
men?
that? I mean, do you think he's aware that during the 50s, that women weren't really allowed in the workforce? Like you could be a secretary. Like maybe he wasn't.
They were so happy though, Sam. They loved it back then.
The reason
they were
why they
good at
weren't
gathering.
allowed. They were good at gathering.
Yeah.
And there was just no gathering jobs at the time.
Honey, you're just really good at gathering.
Just go gather. Go gather today. Give yourself a gathering day.
Yeah. Treat yourself.
needs when he's at work. No, the guy's at work handling the new account for, the TPS reports or whatever. Then he comes home. He makes money, and
Only
the wife
reference
says,
to
I'm going to
work.
go to the store to pick up the groceries we need for food so we can have dinner. I think it's completely admirable. This trope's like, women like shopping. Well, women took it personally, got offended by it, when in reality, it's like, dude, I hate going shopping. I love it when there's just food. Like, you pick up the food, and then, I'll tell you the things that I like, and I appreciate it. But, I don't mind going to the grocery store with my girlfriend, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we're getting winter clothes, and I'm like, just grab me whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Tim would wear whatever. He has no particulars about what's being shopped for him. It's almost like his dress code is like entirely uniform, and he's made pretty active decisions about what he does and does not want to wear, but then pretends that he's above it because that's too feminine.
I love Tim Pool talks about slaying the boar. Like, he talks bullshit into a camera for 3 hours a day and then goes and hangs out by the skate park. I can't. What he could do instead of talking about women be shopping is look at the study and is like, oh, actually, this is based on the fossil record.
Yeah, right.
And maybe get into that a little bit. Instead, it's like, I reject that entirely because women in the 50s, like, what? How do people watch this, I guess, is my question, and think they're getting anything other than just like...
Also, there were massive historical gaps and like centuries and centuries between the prehistoric times of cavemen and women to like the time when we had women be shopping. Like, there are centuries and centuries in between those things.
He needs to pick an argument. He's just ping-ponging back and forth. Are we defending prehistoric man here? Are we talking about shopping, like clothing shopping? Because that's what he seems to end with. Or are we talking about actually putting food on the table? So he's conflating women in the kitchen, prehistoric man rights, and like, I don't like shopping. This beanie smells like an asshole. Like that. Yeah. I don't really like. He needs to find a lane and stick to it.
And then there was the sad part of him wishing he had food in his fridge or someone to come home to cook for him. And that seems like a lot of where this stuff comes from.
Impressive work. Is there any more to that video? Let's play one more like a minute.
I appreciate it, but I don't mind going to the grocery store with my girlfriend, stuff like that. But we're getting winter clothes, and I'm like, just grab me whatever.
That's what it means to be a mighty man of valor.
I'll try it on, and grab me whatever you think works. I appreciate that. Look at this. They say, rather than viewing it as a way of erasing or rewriting history, our studies are trying to correct the history that erased women from it. Yes, that's right. Here you go. What is this? Shutterstock, a woman with a spear.
Sorry, that is an edition made by the Daily Mail and not the actual people who did the study, who were like, whoa, look at this photo we somehow got of cave woman hunting.
Yeah, perhaps Tim might want to just look at the study, but he
Where
can't.
It's about the fossil record. Yeah. The history that's being rewritten is the dumb shit that Tim Pool is spewing by default about women be shopping and men be hunting.
Well, I got news for you, Matt. I think Tim has watched a couple of TV shows about the 50s. So I'm pretty sure he knows what he's talking about when it comes to prehistory.
Okay. So here's what they show, right? The female The suite of features below confer an endurance activity advantage. I'm going to completely debunk this very, very, very easily. This is hilarious.
Number one,
better psychological pacing, greater fatigue resistance through central and peripheral neuromuscular mechanisms. Better insulin sensitivity can increase fatty acid oxidation and spare protein. Increase fatty acid oxidation through mechanisms involving estrogen and adiponectin. Estrogen impacts multiple aspects of athletic performance, increased fatty acid oxidation, blah, 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 blah. Decreased glycogen utilization, increased insulin sensitivity.
That's a live shot of Emma.
I gotta pause there.
Emma fleeing his home, by the way. That's that was Emma after the debate. Oh my!
He's gonna debunk all those words that he can't pronounce.
exactly.
By the way.
Do we need more of that? I mean, I think we got the gist.
Well, I want to hear how he's going to debunk it so easily.
Absolutely debunk it. I'm going to counter it with an argument. But I do want to point out
my
immediate
Did
assumption
he just say he's not going to debunk it? He said he could debunk it so easily. It's hilarious. And now he's saying, well, I'm just going to counter it.
Increased fatty acid oxidation, blah, 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 blah. Decreased glycogen utilization, increased insulin sensitivity. I got to pause there and just, okay, I'm not going to absolutely debunk it. I'm going to counter it with an argument. But I do want to point out my immediate assumption on glycogen utilization is that that's a bad thing. You want glycogen utilization. Okay, so not a biological scientist or a nutritionist or any of this stuff. My understanding is when you eat food, when you eat carbohydrates, it converts into glycogen strings, which are stored, I believe, in the liver and then burned. It's not fat. It's like the sugar energy your body uses right away. Fat is then burned and is smaller.
I mean, what is this?
I don't know if we need to hit.
I'll tell you what that is.
Bullshit.
That is Tim has hired a nutritionist because he wants to get cut, and the nutritionist told him that much, and now he realizes like I can't totally actually debunk this, but I can regurgitate what someone just told me last week, and therefore prehistoric women were not suited for hunting. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I just think it's incredible. Again, the like chauvinistic, whatever misogyny kick everyone's on and all the, that he's on clearly is like, here is an example of how women have more endurance or better runners or have, more stamina, whatnot.
I doubt that.
I know. And he's triggered by that. He's upset that like they're differently abled, and that is upsetting to the entire, whatever right-wing worldview of man best, man good, man the strongest. Women also, lastly, just women, the whole thing, we're talking about theocracy. Like, again, there's back to like what women can do, which is bring life into this world. And it's almost like we're back to that. Men being jealous of this basic fact, and that they can't, harvest little Tim Pools in their, effing matrix or whatever the hell he's building.
The endurance thing, I actually remembered. I knew that before, that there have been studies before this, like this Notre Dame study doesn't come out of nowhere, that women in terms of running, there's some indications that they have higher endurance on a mile-to-mile basis, where sometimes men trend to be a little bit more faster in sprinting or whatever. But that's not a new phenomenon, but of course he's going to debunk it based on, his anecdotes about poker.
There you go. Well, the poker never lies.
Just invent the male uterus, guys. Get the deuterus. Let's go. I think that would solve everything. Once they can, squeeze new life out of their butts, it'll be fine. All right?
Pass. Pass, please. Pass. Franchesca, where can people see your show? Like when? I would imagine where is a much easier question than when.
Yeah. Well, you can listen every week, Tuesdays and Fridays. I'll be going live in a little bit at Franny Fio on YouTube, or listen as a podcast, the Bitchuation Room podcast. And please come see Emma and I on Sunday, the 28th of January.
I'm so jealous. I would love to be at that show.
Yeah, that'll be really fun.
Send me a link and I'll, tweet out all the social stuff to get people.
Of course, there should be a link in the description. Hopefully, Bradley threw it down there. But hell yeah, Bay Area. I want to see you guys there.
Yes, for sure.
Francesca, always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right, folks. I guess we're freebieing Fridaying it today.
Oh,
right,
yeah?
Matt? Is it? What do you think?
I think that's probably the right choice.
Okay.
Well,
I need to
Freebie
take
Friday.
a quick break in that event and be right back.
Oh, all right. Emma will take a quick break. I will read some IMs. Chucky Sumner. Hey, I'm our crew. I'm growing more and more concerned that any act of defiance by Palestinians and their supporters is going to be deemed terrorist activities. Palestinians demanding freedom and justice is not terrorism. It's justifiable resistance and not anti-Semitism. Demanding an end to occupation is not a call to genocide for the occupier. The IRA was not calling for a genocide of the British and the Protestant Ulster and their Protestant Ulster allies. They wanted a reunification of their homeland and complete autonomy from the UK. Palestinians have every right to resist this ongoing occupation, just as Indigenous Americans and the Irish did. The left needs to make clear that while we oppose Hamas as a right-wing fundamentalist movement and condemn the violence against civilians, we must also acknowledge that they are one of the few groups capable of resisting Israeli occupation, and their violence and influence is a byproduct of that occupation itself. Thanks for all you do. Left is best. It's a byproduct of the occupation, but in many respects, it's not even necessarily it was the occupiers enhanced Hamas's power as a way to maintain the occupation.
Yeah.
By undermining Palestinian political coherence and solidarity.
Yeah, and I mean, just to underline that point about, have the right to fight, an occupation that is in international law. That's not just, in Jacobin.
Cedar Simp. Hi, I'm our peeps. Happy Friday. DeCarls Jr. The images and stories coming out of Palestine are heartbreaking. My fiance and I were looking away for Donate, and I was wondering if you knew any of the reputable organizations that are supporting Palestinians. Yes, actually, I just did this yesterday. Is it ANERA? I think it is ANERA, is one that I was reading about that I think is, yes, ANERA, ANERA. It provides development and relief needs of refugees and vulnerable communities in Palestine and Lebanon. It's a 501c3, and I looked into it. That was the one that I thought looked pretty good. You can Google around. ANERA is always at the top of the list of like a Charity Navigator. And I also regularly give to the Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders. And that is a good organization that's literally on the ground in Gaza. And they have been, as far as I can tell from a distance, extraordinary in terms of like bravery and in attempting to deal with the horror that is going on there. So those are two good places to start. Certainly in by no way a comprehensive view. So Onion Breath. If Speaker Johnson's releasing video of January 6th with blurred faces, can we please get the DOJ to release the unedited version? They can't use security as an excuse if the videos are out anyway. Dave from Jamaica. Sam, Tim is almost 40. Well,
whoopsie.
Billy, you've heard of Elf on the Shelf? Well, get ready for slaying the boar on a skateboard. Billy says,
does Tim Pool hunt?
Huh?
I've never heard of Tim Pool talk about hunting. That's kind of an oversight
Poker's
by
the same
a
thing.
masculine guy.
Skateboarding, same thing.
I've killed big game.
He's slayed different ollies.
Wolf Klitzer, pretty sure my neighbors heard me guffaw. We are the citizens of Vagina Land. Sorry, Emma.
All right.
Margot from Mass. Did you guys cancel Feldman? No, we had him on not too long ago.
Semi-recently, I thought. Yeah.
We got to have him back on soon. I'm crying laughing at Tim's pseudo-intellectual version of prehistoric women be shopping. It really is fascinating. Apple cideritis. Tim gets all his prehistoric info from watching the Flintstones. The idea that Fred Flintstone went to work and Wilma be shopping. The real history Tim needs to teach. What should we do here?
You want to do this Elks Jones?
Sure.
Well, because Sam, you were asking, where the hell Tucker's been, right? I mean, he has really kind of fallen off the map. This Twitter show is a pretty big misstep.
What is happening with that Twitter show? Are they getting many views? Do we have any sense?
Well,
we can't.
It's hard to know exactly because I can't remember who pointed this out on Twitter, but there's the two feeds. There's the For You, which is algorithmically enhanced with all your favorite anti-Semites added into your feed, and then there's the Your Actual Feed, which is supposed to be people you are just following, and nonetheless, Tucker's show keeps appearing into the people you're only following feed, and as we know, just appearing in the feed is enough for Twitter to count it as a view.
Yeah,
well, that's the thing. Views really doesn't. I mean, it's absurd on Twitter. Like you scroll through everything. I don't watch video on Twitter.
Exactly. So they're fudging those numbers. I mean, Binder and others have done analyses of those numbers, just essentially confirming what we suspect. And so,
but what's funny is despite that, you can't trust the numbers. You can trust the trend, and the trend has been going down.
Exactly. And I mean, you can also trust it in your analysis of the guests, where he started off hot. He had the Trump interview. Hot, for his standards. Trump interviewed that counter program with the first Republican debate. And then things just started to keep getting more and more.
Now we have to have the guy who says he had a gay affair with Obama.
Right. That's the one I was thinking of, dredging up that debunked story from 15 years ago. And now this guy.
Yeah, Alex Jones is like the last refuge for a show that is struggling with its numbers. Here he is with Tucker Carlson.
And Trump being the candidates. You see the system, the media going after Biden, and he deserves it, but they were covering it up until now. Now they're covering the laptop. Now they're covering attack on the dog. Now they're covering, all of his senility, all the corruption, the Chinese spies.
Attacking a dog. What a pig he is. I'm sorry.
Well, I was told that by Secret Service and by people that, let's just say, work with them. And I'm going to leave it at that. But I actually have a contact for you. I'd like to be able to hear it from them. But when this is over, I'll let you actually hear it from yourself. I think they'll tell you off record.
I trust you.
But yeah, he is completely out of his mind. He wanders around for the entire 2.5 years. It's getting worse. Naked in the White House. In the middle of the night, doesn't know who he is. They have to give him a bunch of drugs, a bunch of amphetamines in the morning. Then they've got to drug him at night. Sometimes he's got to, he'll be out for the morning for a while and then comes back out at night for a ball. That's when there's a real problem.
He is on drugs. I have established that. And I know someone who witnessed it. I'm not guessing at this. I know someone personally who witnessed him taking amphetamines. And this was during the 2020 election.
So how's this going to, that's huge. I know you don't play games.
No, I don't play games with this. I'll just say he's a makeup artist.
Well, no, you said the NFL.
So what were you going to say?
I was just going to say the both two guys talking about how they have secret information they can't share with the viewer, and this is supposed to be independent media. I can tell you off there, but I guess that you could say we're protecting my source. I'm going to protect my source.
Makeup artist, and so Biden sits down and says, "Time for my amphetamines."
Yeah, jack me up, Jack. I don't doubt that. It's the presidents take drugs. They take a cocktail of drugs.
You know who else takes drugs?
Yeah,
people
Trump.
take drugs.
Oh yeah, true.
The amount of pills that your average 80-year-old is taking, I just find it very hard to believe.
Right.
I wouldn't be shocked if they were giving him amphetamines or something. I don't know if it would be amphetamines or whatever it is. I wouldn't be shocked by this. But the idea that this is secret information because a makeup artist, Biden's going to announce I'm taking amphetamines now right before I get my hair done.
Again, this is the most uninteresting way to critique a president because this is fairly common. Nixon had, if you search Nixon Dilantin, there's accusations that he abused that. Reagan himself was senile in the White House. There are reporters who are I looked at him and there was nobody there. But again, how about we focus on the actual policies?
JFK. Look up his relationship with his doctor Feelgood, and he would take
back
things.
Pain medication that led to some other side effects. Yeah,
he would take things to get up and then come down, and There are doctors there that give them also just like a ton of, high-end supplements just to make sure they don't die. So that's part of it as well.
I think George H.W. Bush took Halidol, if I remember correctly, was I think there was some talk about him taking that. But nevertheless, it's fascinating. Is there more? Can we hear more about? I mean, the Biden walking around naked. I find that disturbing.
NSA spying on me, high level, and then a month later they went, "Yes, we're spying on Tucker Carlson."
Yeah, I know.
So you don't make stuff up. And so what I'm saying here is, Biden's a liability for him. Trump's a liability. What do? They have a right winger, they'll claim, assassinate Biden, and they'll have a left winger assassinate Trump. That then gets the country even in more of a fight against each other. And then they put in Gavin Newsom and somebody like Mike Pence or who knows. But I really think the next 13 months is the most critical time, not just in American history, but world history. Because if they can bring down America, they're going to bring down the world. And then you've got the escalation. Remember a year ago, Biden said you can't give F-16s and Abrams tanks and cruise missiles to the Ukrainians. That's World War III. Now they're doing it. So as Russia wins that war, as Colonel McGregor documented a few months ago with you, NATO is escalating. Well, that leads right to nuclear war. So we're so close. That fundamentally makes me so mad. This transcends politics. Since when do Democrats love war? Since when do Democrats love the intelligence agencies? They love them now. And so really the Democratic,
so dark.
Just
so
like the
dark.
Republican Party is a beachhead for sanity and populism.
I'll pause it for 1 second. And just to be clear that the idea of Democrats loving war, I'm not sure if, people, there was certainly have had Democrats who've gotten us into some nasty wars.
The Democratic Party.
But the idea that it's so dark to hear about Democrats loving national security agencies, I agree. But it's weird that he did not have a comment on the dual assassination plot, where they're going to recruit a right winger to assassinate Biden and a left winger to assassinate Trump. And that this is to open the door to Gavin Newsom and maybe Mike Pence.
Working together.
And you mix that in with some other stuff of like, boy, we're in a militaristic mode right now. Fascinating.
Yeah. Also, there's, as far as I know, been no corroboration. In fact, the opposite, that Tucker was illegally targeted by the Biden administration.
Wasn't he going to come out with like all sorts of info and then we never heard about it?
Yeah. Right. Like, I think kind of like this whole, there's going to be a dual assassination thing is something that they're going to talk about for a while to get attention. And then we won't hear about it when nothing comes of it.
Right.
Is there any more to this? I don't know. It's getting increasingly less relevant.
Minutes, but yeah,
Alex
Jones. He's past his prime. It's over. He's like he's in like almost Bill O'Reilly territory now.
Well, part of the problem I think is that a lot of people have taken his shtick, and they now he has to do increasingly sort of like desperate and crazy things to have any even entertainment value, and it's just old. It's just old, I think.
Yeah, and I think he also he's become such an avatar for like the most insane online conspiracies about these kinds of things that even people that are more inclined to listen to him are seeking other alternatives, because it's just gotten to a point where his reputation is just tarnished to that degree, I would say. So like, I mean, but he needs to keep making money, because he's got a $1 billion black hole sitting right in front of him.
I guess we can hold on this National Labor Relation Rules video, which is like basically like porno for me.
Okay.
On the Cemex decision.
You want to wait on that?
Well, I guess it's Friday, casual Friday. Folks, this is going to be safe for work, but not necessarily safe for your bosses. It gets a little risque here.
Playing it up.
Yeah.
because we're going to be talking about NLRB framework as laid out by the NLRB General Counsel and the CEMEX decision. Let's make it as sexy as possible.
We talked about the CEMEX decision. Basically, what this does is it gets us a more or less at like card check light. Now, there's still an extant problem with getting that first contract once the unionization happens, but there's been rumblings at the National Labor Relations Board. They're going to deal with that. But in the meantime, important information for you and your friends to know, or for me, I just play it at sexy time. Here we go.
The NLRB recently issued an important decision in a case called CEMEX that changed the framework for union organizing and collective bargaining in the United States. In CEMEX, the NLRB explained that employees' fundamental rights under federal labor law to organize and collectively bargain were not being adequately safeguarded. So, they announced a new framework consistent with Supreme Court case law. Under the new framework, you have a right to request that your employer recognize your union if a majority of you and your coworkers support union representation in a work group appropriate under labor law. You or your union can make this request through a petition for an election with the NLRB or directly to your employer. If a request is made, your employer must recognize the union and bargain, unless your employer challenges the validity of the request, either through your union's petition or by filing its own petition, generally within 2 weeks. If a petition is filed and your employer commits an unfair labor practice that would require rerunning the election, the NLRB will dismiss the petition and order your employer to recognize your union and bargain in good faith. So make sure you know and enforce your labor rights. If you believe your employer is violating your rights, you can call your NLRB regional office at 844-762-6572 and get assistance filing an unfair labor practice charge. A Spanish language option is available when you call, and we can provide language interpretation in other languages upon request.
But this is relevant, not just because the CEMEX decision is so titillating, but right now, the UAW is on a mission to unionize about 150,000 other car workers or I should say auto workers in this country. And you'll recall there is a Volkswagen plant in Tennessee, in Chattanooga, Tennessee, that there was an attempt to unionize. And this was about, I think, 7 years ago. And it got very heated. In fact, the Tennessee, and I can't remember if it was Lamar Alexander or who it was, the Tennessee senators got involved in that fight, which was rather, I guess typical of the era. Now we actually have politicians and senators weighing in an attempt to sort of enhance unionization. But the UAW just announced, I think it was yesterday, that 1,000 people out of what is considered about a 3,000 person work unit, right? Like it's not all the workers there. It's a unit that the union feels are similarly situated enough that they can be a part of a union together and negotiate together. And 1,000 of them have signed cards expressing a desire for a union. So they're at 30%. When they get to 50%, what the union plans to do is to go in and start having rallies. And then they hope to get to 70%. And once they get to 70%, that's when they file for unionization. I hadn't realized that they would tell people at 30%, but I guess maybe they couldn't keep it quiet. We had a guest on the other day, and she's a labor writer from Philadelphia, and suggested that they didn't mention it until about 50%. But this is a plant where there's a lot of experience, I think, in terms of union busting. But the amazing thing is in Germany, in these Volkswagen plants, you've got union members sitting on their board of directors, essentially working with, working alongside management to determine the direction of the company. But in America, these corporations are going to get away with what they want to get away. But definitely worth checking out. And as I am 400 blowing says, can't wait for the first Tesla plant to unionize with the UAW. Musk is going to be such a sad boy.
It will be so nice.
Be the greatest celebration.
But again, when they get to 70% in terms of unionization, they sign that card. And the reason why I think they want 70% is because they want there to be a margin of error in terms of like, have we included 50 people who may or may not be part of this bargaining unit under, strict scrutiny by the National Labor Relations Board? Once they file that intention to unionize, the company has 2 weeks to either say, yes, we will recognize your union, or here is why we don't think that this unit is legit, or somehow your application is illegit. And then the National Labor Relations Board
reviews
it. So number 13, come for the new National Labor Relations Board rules, stay for the sick jam. It does feel like maybe their music people were on strike. Couple of more IMs and then we're out of here for the week. Fluffy Surfer. What is the objective of skateboarding? It is office space. I love leftist besties. Bayerman 12. I read and Politico Biden is giving Israel a year to wrap this up. That sounds like the dumbest, if not craziest thing to do going into a re-election. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, that's a year.
That seems insane. Maybe by the end of the year?
So at that pace.
Is it possible that it was misread and maybe it was by the end of this year?
I mean, even like that, even if the pace slows significantly, I mean, it's been 17,000 Palestinians killed in 2 months in Gaza. I mean, we're talking.
Well, now you're going to also
tens more thousands.
You're going to deal with disease. You're going to deal with malnutrition. You're going to deal with all the sort of knock-on impacts of the destruction that they've wrought.
And what happens if when, Hezbollah and others, Muslim nations or Arab nations, I should say, nearby start to say like, well, we have to respond in some way with an active force.
I mean, they're already doing that. And I think America has to take that on the chin. If we're going to be stationing all over the world in places like this and supporting that, I'm sorry, it is provocative to those countries. And that is what is putting our soldiers at risk. It's not the people responding to what's going on.
Right.
JR in Philly discussing that MR openly rooting for this whole lords and serfs kind of thing, canceling my membership. Which
what
is the lords and
serfs? That's related to Elon Musk at his public breakdown, where it's like he doesn't like unions because of the
it creates
a lord and serfs mentality.
Right, right. But and that everyone sits at the same table at Tesla, and they don't have an executive elevator, unlike Ford, which is unionized.
There's not people at the station that is named after slurs where black people work. Certainly
Nick 570 says, I think I read it's by the end of this year. I would be surprised if it was after the end of a year, but rather the end of this year. But we'll double check on that. Jenna Doherty, I'm a recovering homeschool fundamentalist Christian and trans activist. Been having a great year overall, working with bridging the gap with Christian community. Also, just my activism in general. Love to come on and talk about it because I appreciate how much you raise awareness about the threat of Christian fundamentalism. My area code is 510. We're not taking calls today, but we'll keep an eye on. You can't spell Semex without sex, says Green Duell. Actually, there's no S in Semex.
It's a C.
But Colin Brooke, for anyone who doesn't know, the leader of Canada's Conservative Party has started in on the road to destroying women's rights by whipping a vote for Violence Against Pregnant Women Act, which would have started the process of making fetuses into people. All right, 3 more. Sam's Mailman. What are you thinking of Game of Thrones books? What about Saul?
I don't know what you mean by that.
I don't either. Hack All Things. I think the movie Emma was talking about is Santa Claus is Coming to Town, 1970. It's a claymation of Santa's oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yes, no, that looks like Bill Barr. I mean, that's exactly what he looks like. So everyone look it up. Herman, or no, it's Meisterburger, whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Meisterburger, yeah.
It's a washed reference, to be completely frank.
Of course.
Tommy Hot Tub.
That's all I've got.
Tommy Hot Tub. Tim, sweetie, women are doing all those things, just not with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bull
and guess not
Pod.
his girlfriend.
I've extrapolated my skate park to all skate parks.
Women be gathering, slay the board. And the final I am of the week. Zane, when you start as the Bigfoot and alien guy and your boy is continuously getting more outrageous, it's pretty impossible not to drive off the rails of your crazy train. Fair enough. Bradley, Matt, Emma, great job this week. Also, shout out to Dorsey, John Aarons, who does our booking. Dorsey, of course, our executive vice president of video and social media. Isaac, the vice president of social media, and Christina, and or I should say Maria, and Chris, and Julie. Also, all vice presidents. We have a huge suite of vice presidents here at the Majority Report. Great job, everybody. We'll see you on Monday.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the light bar, but finding out won't make me feel any better. Yeah, I know the clock is ticking, but the meds are gonna kick in, and my pilot lights shining bright. I get somewhere the choice was made, for the option where you don't get paid, for the road that bends before it finally breaks you. I get somehow lost.